Good afternoon if you're in Asia. Good morning if you're watching from the UK. I'm Alexander of InvestGlass, and I'm glad to have you today for a special webinar where we'll show you all what we've been building for neobanks and also private banks trying to become a bit more neo. Into today's presentation, we will look into the different aspects of building it. So it's obviously a presentation that is more for a nerdy audience. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask them into the chat on the right. And with no further ado, let's jump into this presentation. Okay, so today we're going to see how we actually build a neobank with InvestGlass as a core system, but also with other tools. So first, we're going to see how to select the right partners, the fintech partners, how to plan the journey, collect the data, add a digital signature, whatever is the type of signature, and then create your own branded client portal. If you have any questions, if you're looking for help as your InvestGlass users, don't hesitate to go to help.investglass.com. You can also send us an email at contact@investglass.com. And for the newcomers, you will find all our webinars on investglass.com/webinars. Now, what is InvestGlass? InvestGlass is a Swiss-based company which brings 5 key features together: digital onboarding, CRM, portfolio management tool, automations, and a client portal. So the power of InvestGlass is to have all those 5 key elements, a bit like your Swiss knife. You know that you can go out there and the digital tool of InvestGlass will help you in most situations. With InvestGlass, our colleagues, we've been building the following businesses, growing them: private equity, family office, real estate, private bank, neobank, retail bank, crypto broker, prime broker, and asset managers. But also more, I would say, regular industries like travels or healthcare. I've been using InvestGlass too. Now, InvestGlass is a Swiss-based company with no interference with the US. So that could be very interesting for you guys that are dealing with sensible information. Now, why InvestGlass? People come to us usually because they have 3 things they want to avoid. First, they want to stop wasting time with heavy consultancy or with vendors that have a lot of manners, complex behaviors, and just go straight to what they need, show their RFPs, and build it. Then also, because InvestGlass is open to modularity, and I will show you why, you can bring whatever fintech partner, even a CRM, even a PMS inside InvestGlass. Then it's obviously the contracts. We run on monthly or yearly contracts, not more. And that's very interesting for most of you because you're tired of having multi-year type of contracts. So we build InvestGlass to make sure that we're going to make you more productive, right? So CRM used to be to make you busy, and that's not what we are aiming. And we're going to show you how we do this. Partly if you're dealing with a neobank, because obviously you need to have first a competitive pricing, and that's what we offer you. And also as you scale, you want to make sure that you'll have the right type of license. And this is, as you can see on my screen, very much a very aggressive offer that will bring you just the right offer you need to scale your neobank. Now, let's go and acquire and grow your customer base. When you're building the neobank, you are basically getting out of the brick and mortar type of business. Maybe you want to do some hybrids, but for sure you want to do DIY, do it yourself. Here you have the 3 types of approaches you will find into a neobank. Frankly, I'm sure that sooner or later some neobanks like Monzo, Revolut, Conto will go back into the brick and mortar for different types of marketing purposes. Hybrid means that the client will manage some type of the operations and you will also manage. Do it yourself means the client will do all the process by himself or herself, and you will just collect the data, process the data, and go with the account opening. The idea is how many of those elements you want to connect to the core system. InvestGlass team will help you to coordinate the different vendors that you want to bring into your stack. And this is very important because you're going to find that very quickly you need multiple vendors. Here is a list of some of the vendors we've been working with. Some of them are for face recognition, digital signature, PEP sanction checks, cryptos, payments. You see here the list is quite large. We have about 100 of those companies with which we've been working with. Each of them will be relevant perhaps at a given time on your onboarding. So it's important to see which one will be needed. Also, we are not redistributors of those solutions. So when you are actually working with InvestGlass, InvestGlass as an orchestrator might do an introduction to those vendors. We might give you some ideas of which vendor is the most acquainted, is the most suited to your objectives, your mindset, your budget, but we will let you sign with those companies the final contracts, and you have the service level agreements of those companies bounded to your own neobank. Now, what is important is to make sure in those neobank onboarding that you don't break the actual customer journey. And about 50% of them are broken for different reasons. First is the frustration of the account opening. An account opening form should be as small as possible. Usually you have the first agreement, which in the US or in some countries can be very, very short because you just need to find out that you're eligible to a credit card if you want to open a very limited, restricted access to, let's say, Robinhood, for example. Okay. Now, if you're looking to open a brokerage account in the UK, a neobank with a brokerage offer, or in Switzerland or in Hong Kong, then you might have another type of paperwork, and the onboarding might be slightly more complex. In any situation, you have to make sure that this onboarding will be as short as possible. 5 to 10 minutes is the maximum you should spend on a mobile phone. And let's say 15, maybe 20 minutes will be the maximum a prospect should spend on a tablet or on a laptop. Obviously, you're not going to spend 20 minutes on your iPhone trying to answer to small questions and type in word, character after character. So here again, try to have a journey that is short enough. We have a lot of mockups we can share with you. Those mockups obviously can be used with your own iOS, Android apps, but also with a web-based app of InvestGlass. Then you have to keep it very, very stupid simple, right? You don't want to have a complex with parallels and series type of neobank account opening. You should know very quickly which segments is the right segment for you. If the segment is not good, then put it away. This is very true if you do the account opening with tools like Onfido, Basis ID, Creda, COT. Some of those vendors are meant to be stronger with Asian clients, other with European clients. So obviously, if you do the name check and you're looking for John Smith, you're going to have signals everywhere for some of them, whereas others might be more, I would say, used to have this type of John Smith and might ask you for something else that will discriminate all those flags that you could have. Okay. The same if you're looking for Chinese or Japanese types of clients. Some of those vendors will be helpful for this segment, but might not be as helpful for other segments. So we're here also to help you and decipher what is going to be your objective in terms of growth, your objective in terms of segments, and find the right fintech partners. Now, when you're collecting the data, you have 3 kinds of data collection. The blue one will be the basic forms where you will collect data for segments. of products. So let's say you're asking for a client, to a client which type of product you want to opt in, which is different from the account opening, right? The very first questionnaire. The second is which product you want to opt in, which pieces of the client portal or the app you want to activate. So this is going to be the very basic, the blue one. Then you have the more sophisticated with the client risk classifications, the investment profiles, and this will be based with points, and based on this point total, you will have a score which will lead to a segmentation of these prospects. It's also with this client risk classification that you will respect MiFID or FINSA type of account opening. So here again, we're not talking about the basic neobank, do just remittances and payments. We're talking more of a neobank that will also offer trading or portfolio mandates. As you know, you must ask questions about suitability and appropriateness and knowledge to your customers. And with InvestGlass forms, you will ask the right questions, store the data into the CRM, and then segment the right offer to the right clients. And then the third, the pink one, is when you start asking questions to third-party vendors. So if you're looking to check an identity with WorldCheck, an ID card with Basis ID, face recognition with Onfido, and so forth and so on, this is where you look into. And we put it into 3 colors to show you that there are different type of implications. I would say the blue ones, anyone can do it. The yellow ones, you need to think a bit about it, and it's a bit more complex and sophisticated. I would say it's for like average plus InvestGlass users. And then the pink one, usually you will need InvestGlass IT team that will work alongside with you to connect the dots with the different API. So by the way, what's an API? An API is the application program interface. The application program interface. So an API, it's a little bridge that will connect InvestGlass to another applications. So you must have this API. In most fintech vendors we're working with, they have an API. Sometimes they have a flat file. So, but usually it's an API, and we'll connect the dots with the API. Once you've done this, know more or less what type of form you want to engage with, and you have to build the ideal scenario. With 1, 2, 3, 5 steps, we have mockups. The idea is to test your onboarding fast. Okay, don't wait for ages to test the onboarding. Capture the feedbacks quickly. Check why it's working, why it's not working, and this will be then a successful scenario. And obviously, the scenario can change. You know, if you're building a crowdfunding company or a private equity company or a neobank, the type of questions you're going to ask are going to change during time. And with InvestGlass form editor, you will be able to change these forms along the new regulations, right? But again, try to make this scenario sweet, okay? Linear in series, not in parallel, from capturing new prospects with an ID from your website to actually the account opening, right? And then you have to plan data collection, okay? There are too many clients that actually are not collecting the data correctly, because what they won't find is that the data collection will stop sometime after the 31st day. But in reality, the whole process will continue during the whole year. So my suggestion for that is capture this date and try to create some anniversary events. Try to create some elements of recreation, of meeting, of gathering around this planning. Now, keep readjusting also this information, because as you collect some information on this onboarding, you will find that some negative answers or some API calls might be linked to a bad calibration of your tool, right? The threshold is too high, it's too low. So I will give you an example. You're using account opening form with InvestGlass and you're using basis ID on FIDO, and the very basic question is, do you accept a valid address? Okay, that's a question. Do you accept valid address? Perhaps you might say like no, and then boom, it's discriminated prospect, or you might say yes, but then I should ask another question that will follow. And this process should be readjusted as much as possible. So for that, the most important thing is first is to start with the field's values. So the field values are the values that you're going to store into your CRM. You have to make sure that the field values are being seen by the right person at the right time, but also that you are in line with the GDPR or equivalent type of regulations. You have this regulation everywhere, in South Africa, in China, in Hong Kong, in Brazil, in the US with the California Act, and you have it everywhere. So just make sure that you collect the data in the right way, and this data collected in the right way will fall into the CRM. Obviously, when you first load this data, you have to do some quality tests to make sure that the data that you bring into InvestGlass is going to be clean. Don't dump files without understanding first what will be the architecture of the data. When I'm talking about an architecture, I'm talking for those building neobanks for companies, or those building neobanks with more sophisticated services like multiple beneficial order. Here, if you're doing that, you will find an architecture where you have the accounts, the relations, and the contacts. Accounts, relations, contacts. Accounts, meaning the account with your neobank. Relation could actually be the family office, the company. And then you have the different contacts. Why do we do this? We do this because you can have multiple beneficial owners, multiple limited power of attorneys that will have rights on the portal that might bring a signature. So first, make sure the architecture is right. Then make sure that what you bring into the data is properly tested. And obviously, if you're doing some kind of dump into the data, the InvestGlass team will help you with ETL, Exchange Transform Load, to bring the data back into InvestGlass with all the security measures. Here you see how it looks like inside an InvestGlass edit form. So obviously this is really much, I would say, sophisticated, but I want to show you this for those using InvestGlass to understand the different options you have into the CRM. First, you have to make sure that the field name and API will be similar to the one you're going to connect. So if you connect a digital signature or face recognition, this is where you have to focus on the field name API. The field label can be the field label will be the field label that you will actually see in your CRM. So this is where you can put it in French, in German, in Chinese, but obviously the field name usually is in English because this is where you're going to connect to the third-party API. The value set will be the list of countries. So for those building neobanks in the UK, France, you don't want to start with the first of the list, which is Afghanistan. So here you can create your own lists and have first France, UK, Switzerland, Italy, Spain, whatever, and then the rest of the list. The value sets are very easy to build. It's just a list that you will create inside InvestGlass CRM. Input type is what input type you're expecting. Are you expecting a toggle button, a radio button, multiple choice, single choice? And then what is the default value? Perhaps if you're targeting mostly French clients, you don't want to basically have a list. You want to pre-select France, and eventually if France is not their country, then they will look into another country. And below you'll find all the page layouts, so where you want to show this specific field, and do you want to see also the specific field as mandatory or a new record. This will be less relevant if you're building a neobank because obviously it's going to be your onboarding form that will generate the contacts, right? Then you have the field level security and the accessibility. Here it's important to say what type of usage you want to do with the field, if it's GDPR, PCI, or whatever California or whatever type of regulation it's linked to. And then you'll have who can see this actual field. It's not a record. The record is another topic. So look into another time, but here is more the fields, right? So then you have to create those forms. So first you create the field, then you create the forms. When you create the forms, you have to keep them short and clear. Don't do a list with 40 questions in the same page. We have a page system, so you can create page 1, 2, 3, 4, and try to break them down per pages. Then each answer can be connected to the field inside the CRM, and you can set the field as mandatory or not. This is going to be very helpful. Like this, you will bring the user, your prospect attention to these mandatory fields. Make sure that the field also is collected correctly. If it's for an account or if it's for a contact form, it's going to be different, right? A contact will have one signature. An account can have multiple signature. A relationship can have multiple signature. Then here, you're going to have the system of childs, where you could say this is a form for an account with multiple beneficial owners, multiple contact, multiple child fields that are going to be repeated. Here is an example of a form where you have one form for an account, and below you will find for different beneficial owners a form where you have the information that will repeat for each family member. Those forms can be hosted anywhere. So if you go onto our public website and you sign up for a trial on investglass.com website, you will find this type of forms that can be used not only for complex account openings, as we've seen previously, but also just for lead acquisition and the very first step of the prospect conversion. Just go to public share of the form, select generic new contact, click share, and then host this piece of code, which is an iframe, into your WordPress or whatever system you're using. The forms can have different format here. For example, it's one I partly like is before a meeting, you can ask a prospect to preload the documents like this. When you have this actual meeting, you'll make sure that you have the right content. The forms can be used also for robo-advisor, where you will host a pie, and this pie, based on answers of suitability and appropriateness or risk assumption, will drive the decision to a more risky or less risky portfolio mandate. Very cool. We also offer a package system with InvestGlass. So when you start having multiple forms that you want to bring into the same account opening process, you can have here on the left the different forms, and in the middle you'll have the actual forms that one client should fill in. This is partly helpful if you have multiple services to which the Neobank is offering. So you have the first account opening, and then you have multiple services, multiple contracts, and this is how you'll give to your clients the impression that they don't need to refill 10 times the same information, because each time they will finish one of those 3 forms, the answer will be saved into the CRM. So when they will open the next one, the answer will be pre-populated. They will just need to say, I accept, boom, done. Now, if you don't have any automation, it's going to be a nightmare, right? So InvestGlass offers automations which will let you update records based on the answers, based on the project, the customer journey. So each time you have a new prospect, you want to set this prospect into the pipeline with the stage prospect. This is what InvestGlass will do. So you won't have any idle prospects moving around into your website, into your CRM, I'm sorry. They will be properly filled in, properly sorted, and you'll find exactly who is in which stage of each pipeline. Now, the portal is key. InvestGlass portal can be hosted within your system. Well, InvestGlass Spirit, right? InvestGlass portal can be hosted directly within your system. Now, it can be also hosted within your own app. So if you're looking to develop an iOS and Android app, we have the possibility to bring all these elements, all this information with the API into your portal. Now, InvestGlass offering a very, I would say, accomplished and very sophisticated portal, you might find that it would be sufficient to use InvestGlass portal to start with before you actually build an iOS and an Android app. Into the portal, you can customize everything. The look and feel, you can put your own widgets, which means that you can bring widgets from another vendor. You can also create your own widgets and bring them into InvestGlass. We have dozens of companies building their portal with InvestGlass. So we'll give you definitely some interesting ideas, and we will find for sure the right portal that will suit your customer journey. Now, when you build this portal, it's important to create also a feeling of onboarding. It's very similar when you play Super Mario Bros. You're not going to have the wings and throw some fireballs on the first 100 meters, right? You're going to go step by step, eating one mushroom, then a second mushroom, then a third mushroom eventually, right? So here's the same here. We want to make sure that when you create some content, you're going to create the content that will be sent to a segment, and this segment will be discriminating other contents. So you can, with InvestGlass, restrict this content and engage on different segments. Now, when you start the portal, you have to understand also that you might raise expectations of your prospects and clients. In the classical banking world, you will have a mono type of relationship where a client will ask the banker. Now, obviously, we are more used for a mix or a collab. The mix in the center means that you will interact with your customers, and there won't be only one point of contact in your company, but there might be 1, 2, 3 points, A, B, C. This means that you have to make sure with the InvestGlass customer ticketing system that you properly set up this system when a colleague is away, when clients are served with a premium version of your SLAs. You want to make sure that this is properly set up. The third one is the collaborative discussion, is when you want clients to discuss together on the portal. This is the most risky, I think, and I know very few neobanks that actually, I don't know of any neobank in reality that is doing that. This is more what you will find into TripAdvisor type of approach or Booking.com, where customers can exchange their opinions. Definitely, this is what you might find with the forum of Swissquote or perhaps eToro with the follow trader. But again, they are not neobanks, they are brokers. So select the type of dialogue you want to set. There are different tools also that are built for that type of dialogue, so we'll also help you selecting those tools. And try to hyper target your customer segments, meaning widgets will be interesting for a client segment, the blue for the A, the green for the B, the C, and the pink for the C group. And the three groups, as you find here, will have yellow in common. Again, the idea is not to create frustration or boredom, so don't put too many widgets into your neobank portal. Try to restrict and find a perfect equilibrium in this journey that you want to offer. Once you are finishing this onboarding, you have the digital signature. And for the digital signature, it's a big obviously topic, because each country, each customer type will have different style of signature. In some countries, the qualified investor will require more elements than just a regular investor. In France, you can use a very basic signature with some authorized parties. In Switzerland, it would be different. So here, we won't go into this presentation too much into the details, but we work with about 5 vendors now, 6, that are specialized for signature in different countries. So different country, different vendors, sometimes they're cross-border, but I would say they have their own specialties, right? And there are some very basic things, like if you're dealing with clients in Saudi Arabia or in Dubai, in Jordan, you will have a treatment of the SMS that will be different than if you're dealing with clients in Geneva, Zurich, and Paris. The SMS will be used differently. They might not actually reach the signature. So this is all the elements we have to look into together to make sure that you have the perfect neobank onboarding and signature. Now, InvestGlass offers also a conversation, a chat system. So that's very elegant because it's a very nice way to exchange messages with your customers and start the conversation directly inside the portal. Partly for those like neobanks, or I would say neo private equity companies, where you have the WhatsApp, the Telegrams, the Signals, the SMS, and the emails. Here's a very nice way to bring all the messages in the same place. We can also connect to Twilio if you want to have the SMS directly sent into InvestGlass. Now, there are a lot of things we can automate. We were talking about the account opening, but we also work a lot with our clients on the transaction process, the AML. This is usually with connections to partners like READJUSTING, Trésor, or Winbees, all those accounting companies where we will receive positions and transactions, ledgers, and then we'll process some different types of AML check on those accounts. Here again, InvestGlass has automation systems that you can set up by yourself to make sure that the fraud will be prevented. The system works with an event store, so all the transactions are stored in one place, and then a routine runs and process a different calculus. This calculus can be based on very basic automations, but it can also host Python or R code. So Python is a code language which is going to process information and send some signals if there are some issues that are more sophisticated than the issues of just checking an MRZ on a passport. Once you finish this beautiful onboarding, you start having transactions. The CRM InvestGlass will offer two key elements. First is an electronic depository system where you can store your own documents. And the second, as you see on the right, is connection to third-party VoIP systems. So if your customers need some assistance, or if you are looking to do KYC remediations, InvestGlass with all the connections will help you to save time on calling the right customer, asking the right questions with automatically recorded conversations. As you see also on the top right here, you have the scripts. So you can create your own scripts inside InvestGlass, and you have your operators just reading the script. In one click, they have the phone, and everything is marvelously organized around InvestGlass CRM. Last but not least, InvestGlass offers a portfolio management tool, so you can dump all your fintech trading app or the READJUSTING of this world data into InvestGlass to reflect the positions and the transactions. And obviously, as you see, perhaps with this little flags, this little icon and the question mark and the forbidden sign, InvestGlass also computes multiple signals of suitability and appropriateness. It was a very, I would say, in-depth presentation for this onboarding, connection to the different APIs, automations, and also what you can do with InvestGlass when you have a neobank with the remediation, KYC remediations. Obviously, the objective is to help you grow, and as you grow, we will help you to coordinate and orchestrate with different fintech connected to InvestGlass and the 5 pillars of InvestGlass: the onboarding, the CRM, the PMS, the automation, and the client portal. Those 5 pillars are connected to each other. They're working with an API, so you can always connect with new parties. Now, if you have any other questions, please look into the help.investglass.com if you're already a customer. If you're not a customer yet, just run to investglass.com, ask for a presentation, a demo, or actually a live trial of InvestGlass platform. If you have any questions, send us an email at contact@investglass.com. And if you want to watch another webinar, join us on investglass.com/webinars. I hope you have a fantastic holiday season, and I hope you will enjoy building your neobank with InvestGlass. Bye now.